Hello, my name is Ben.
And my name's Andrew.
And we are your hosts of the Too Vague podcast this week. One word, two hosts, stories, trivia, and video games. Andrew joining me again after his exhausting vacation.
It was, it was relaxing.
Okay.
And exhausting.
I think that's the way most vacations kind of work out. Sometimes you need a little time off from your vacation at the end, and I kind of build that in myself.
We paced it well.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of it, we're definitely tired.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. The pictures that I saw, it reminded me of being stuck in a line at the DMV to get your driver's license photo, and you've been waiting for like 3 hours, and then that's what you'd get. I'm glad you're back and in good health. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about the word this week, which is Italy.
Italy.
Yes. Italy, where all the Itals live. I don't know.
The Itals.
I've got this really dumb joke that I tell whenever I go to the coffee shop.
The coffee shop.
Yeah. One of my regular orders before I go to work is a quad espresso con panna. And my joke is, yeah, that's espresso con panna. That's Italian for espresso with panna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With panna.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a dad joke. Kind of like when you talk about the Leaning Tower of Pizzas.
Oh, yeah.
Did you go see the Leaning Tower of Pizzas?
We didn't. We thought about it, but we were tired that day.
Before we get into the sites that you actually did see, you want to start with the definition of Italy?
Yeah. How do you define Italy?
Well, officially the Italian Republic or the Republic of Italy, located in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, consists of a peninsula and the Alps surrounded by several islands. Italy covers an area of 301,000 square kilometers, approximately. Population of about 60 million, the third most populous member state of the European Union, the sixth most populous country in Europe, and the 10th largest country in the continent by land area. And of course, Italy's capital and largest city is Rome. Italy shares land borders with France, Switzerland, Austria, Slovenia, and some microstates, I guess Vatican City and
Oh, the Vatican City. That's
San
right.
Marino.
Oh, we went there, the Vatican City.
Very cool.
I mean, we were in Rome and we walked down the street till it turned into the Vatican City.
Okay. And then you walk back.
We walked back. Yeah, it was...
Was it one of those Big Ben Parliament kind of situations? Hey, look, kids, Big Ben Parliament.
It was a little bit like that. It was kind of funny. So, yeah, we were in Italy. Our first couple of days, we were in Rome. We knew we wanted to see as much as we could without losing our minds. So one of the things that we did was they have these like hop on, hop off bus tours that kind of circle all the sites. Catherine wanted to go see the Vatican, so we got off at this one spot and she was like looking at Google Maps trying to figure out how to get to the Vatican City, and I'm like, well, it's right there. There's the St. Peter's Basilica facing out on the square, and because I had took art history. And I was just looking at it's right there. And she's looking at her phone walking, and their phone gives her this weird directions to go around out the side. And I was like, no, but that's it. I didn't quite realize what the disconnect was, but.
Did you eventually figure it out? It was just kind of
we did. And by eventually, we were just walking in the right direction. I just didn't realize how closely she was following the phone directions, wherein I was like, yep, this big road that goes right up to the big cathedral with the big round plaza in front of it with all the chairs still set up because the Pope did a speech this morning. Yep, this is the Vatican City. Yep.
Yeah. Did you know that there was going to be a Pope speech?
No, we didn't know. It was apparently there's this this Catholic festival day called Angelus, which I don't know. It's one of those important Jesus days. I don't remember what it is. Is it the day that the angel came and told Mary that, hey, you're going to have a baby? Surprise. And it will be the Son of God. Maybe it's that, or maybe it's something else.
Hmm.
That has to do with an angel, and I totally Wikipedia'd it, and then I forgot it. I was not raised Catholic, so I don't remember.
Don't remember.
I don't remember all the. I don't know. Every day of the calendar, it's a different.
Well, you kind of establish that by saying one of those Jesus days. I think you set the level appropriately for your knowledge of religion.
I know that there's Christmas and there's Easter, and like as a Protestant, I was grown up knowing that there was Christmas and Easter,
Mm-hmm.
and then this other thing called Palm Sunday, and then an Ash Wednesday,
Right.
which seemed like part of an extended Easter, but without chocolate. And then and now there's these other Jesus days.
You had to do the ash thing on the forehead. Do Protestants do that?
We didn't have to do that. Some Protestants do. We didn't do it,
Hmm.
except for maybe like in Sunday school we did it, but it was on Sunday, not on Wednesday. So the denomination I grew up in was a very liberal one.
Yeah.
Jesus said a lot of good things we should listen to. We should take Jesus seriously. I think that's what it is. Like, yeah, that was
The message.
that was the bar we had to cross, was take Jesus' message seriously. It wasn't like you have to believe it 100%. Just take it seriously.
Yeah.
Like, and so that left me with an improper understanding of the depths to what faith meant to other people.
Okay.
Talking about Jesus stuff.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. But we're like in the most Jesus city, but it's okay.
So you spent some time in Vatican City, or at least a few minutes in Vatican City.
We spent a little bit of time in Vatican City. We maybe 20 minutes. Here was the interesting part. This was the thing that let me know we actually went into a different country,
Okay.
because there were a couple like Italian army personnel
Mm-hmm.
like outside, like there was like barricades around it. I think the barricades were set up because there was a big Pope thing in the morning that day, but the barricades were still up, and there were a couple Italian army personnel right outside it, and I was like, we're crossing a border, but
Mm-hmm.
it was still the EU, so we didn't really have to show our passports.
Right. What they refer to it in the definition is Vatican City as a microstate.
I learned about how that happened. So for a long time, Italy was not one unified country. There were a lot of different city-states, and there was the Venetian Republic, which was its own deal, and there was Florence kind of had its own deal for a bit, and there were a lot of things that were called like the papal states.
Mm-hmm.
The church kind of controlled a big chunk of Italy. I think it was during the late 1800s, Italy unified and became a kingdom of Italy, but the Vatican did not want to become part of Italy. They wanted to keep their independent status, even though every single part of their lands had been taken over by the unified kingdom of Italy.
Right.
So for a long time, they were just kind of like cut off. Like they were just embargoed.
Right.
So the Vatican City was like, they were not recognized as their own country.
Mm-hmm.
They were just this little enclave that refused to participate with the rest of Italy. So it was just kind of shut off. And they were not allowed to participate with the rest of the economy or whatever. And that went on for decades. And then this guy named Mussolini cut a deal with the Pope that said, sure, you can have your own little microstate, and we'll just call it all good. And I'm sure there was more to it than that.
Right.
But that was like a big deal that the Catholic Church was allowed to have its little microstate within Rome.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. I probably smooth over a lot of bitterness, but then, Mussolini stuff.
There's a fine line between Jesus stuff and Mussolini stuff.
Yeah, they got the Jesus stuff on the one hand, then the Mussolini stuff. And it's like, well,
where's the Venn diagram there? I don't know. It just the microstate portion, I think.
The fascinating part is that we have this microstate that has more embassies than any other country, because technically every Catholic church is an embassy of the Vatican.
Oh, wow.
So you can go and seek political asylum in a church.
Interesting.
There are sanctuaries.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere on the earth that is a Catholic church can function as an embassy of the Vatican, and according to a certain nerdy perspective.
Right.
Now,
legally though,
I I think some places you can get away with it legally. But, there's also this like medieval concept of going to a church for sanctuary.
So it kind of makes sense.
People would like hide out from the law in the church and be like, oh, your laws don't work here because we're the country of God.
It's all Jesus-y up in here.
I don't know. Man, are we getting too Jesus-y? I worry about it.
Well, there's a certain segment of the population who said you can't be too Jesus-y.
Yeah, okay.
But I think it's interesting, just the history of the Vatican City and the fact that you visited there and learned that. That's an interesting thing. How was the architecture around Vatican City? Is there any modern architecture in Vatican City? Or is it mostly
where we looked?
Yeah.
It was like all that stuff Michelangelo designed. That's their facade. We just saw the front doorstep, really. So,
gotcha. Did you see any of those, any of the medical professionals there with the leeches? I think that's like 16th century, 15th century, right?
16th century.
It's very interesting to do people watching while you're going to places like that. Was it mostly tourists that you saw in Rome, or was it, or can you discern, like, depending on the location you go, that's very touristy and that's where the people will be?
I would say the part of Rome we were like right in the middle, in the prime touristy area, I think. Yeah, we picked a hotel that was close to the train station, that was close to where the Colosseum was.
Right.
Because we knew we were just going to be there for 2 days. We wanted to be able to, maximize what we're looking at. And so I feel like we stayed in a very touristy area.
Gotcha.
But it was interesting to see the different kinds of tourists, because there was one night where we had dinner at a little place that was right by our hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that worked there, I would say, were from different parts of Europe. Knowing English was a definite plus. But the next table over, there was a party of Germans.
Mm-hmm.
And I was overhearing them with my like 1 semester of German that I took in college. And talking with their server, who like she was also German, and they had this little conversation. I could pick up the gist of it. Like, she was really happy to be able to speak German with customers, because when they hired her, the big question was, "How good's your English?" And she's like, "Oh." But so it's interesting. There's this weird dynamic in Europe where English is definitely the main common language.
Mm-hmm.
If people from different countries go to one place, like, the odds are that they, if they're from different countries, they have a basic rudimentary understanding of English,
mm-hmm.
at least to get by with ordering food or whatever. So that was interesting, especially considering that the UK did their Brexit thing a few years back,
Right.
But it's like a lot of tourists are Americans or Brits. So the occasional Australian. That's probably more than the occasional Australian.
I know that you have a picture of the Statue of David that you sent me.
Oh, yeah.
You saw that. You saw the Colosseum.
Yeah, the David's actually in Florence, so that's a totally different city. So
right. So you traveled. Was this before or after the festivities? You went to some sort of a vineyard or whatever, or did you?
Oh, this was awesome. Okay, so yeah, Catherine's parents, it was their 50th anniversary, so they hosted the whole family at a villa
mm-hmm.
in Tuscany. So there was this cool little. No, actually, it was this great big stone farmhouse, 3 floors, lots of bedrooms. We rented out the whole place, and it was part of like an agri-tourism sort of place. So the building was actually, the land surrounding it was still a working farm. So there's a vineyard there.
Yeah.
And there'd be guys coming out doing farm stuff every day. So that was a totally neat other experience.
Yeah.
So after 2 days in Rome, we took a train to Florence, then I had to get a rental car, which was amazing. First, we had to walk through these narrow streets that also other people are walking on, but also, cars drive on it too. And it's like the sidewalks are barely even there. It's great. And the rental car place was just like a few blocks away, but of course, everybody's lined up outside trying to get their stuff.
Trying to get their choice of vehicle.
I don't know if there was any choice involved. No, it was like everybody that had already been registered. So, everybody who had reservations like still had to go through the thing where it was just like a enterprise rent a car. Like even if your rental is like scheduled to be at what 4:30 p.m., you
Right.
still freaking gotta put up with the 7 people that are in line ahead of you. And
So it was pretty much all Fiats. Is that what it was? Or were there things like as high class, like your Alfa Romeos or Ferraris or Lamborghinis or whatever other Italian cars there are?
I don't believe this rental place had those options, but
There was no race option.
I might have just when I scheduled on Expedia, I might not have been looking at those options. So, but we wanted a car that would have enough room for luggage for 3 people because my adult daughter Star was meeting us there. So
So it was a Fiat.
it was a Fiat. So we got the big Fiat though.
Oh, okay.
So it was yeah, there was a back seat with back doors, and I want to say it was called a Fiat 500L.
Oh, an L. Okay.
NL, yeah.
Because the
Does that mean
500s
anything?
are the 500s are the regular ones that they sell here.
2-door, and you squeeze into the back if you
Yeah.
want to get in there. No, so this was the big Fiat, which was still a Fiat, but it was cool. The rental car guys, it was kind of funny. We checked in at the office, and then the garage was across the street, and we go in, and everybody we'd just been in line behind before was in line in there to pick up their cars. And then they found, by the time it was our turn, then they had a guy say, "Oh, drive them up to their car up on the 3rd floor or whatever." And the guy drove us, and then he just sort of picked the first Fiat that was the right color and told us that was our car.
Okay.
And then we tried to put the key in the ignition, and it would not work because that was not our car. And then we found another employee, and we're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And they looked at it, and he's like, "Yeah, I took you to the wrong car." And then he found our car, and it was fine. But it was just like this kind of thing where it's like, really good system, guys.
That's not dissimilar from most rental car places, right? I mean,
No, not at all. I mean, it's yeah.
so the Fiat was nice. Was a nice. I mean, what is the equivalent size and type that you had? Like, if you compared it to an American car, is it still a compact or is it?
Yeah, it's still a compact.
Okay.
It was interesting to see like the types of cars, like they're just littler there. They have to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes them more maneuverable and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, because the thing is like right away, like I get in this little car and it's a manual transmission, and it's been a while since I've driven a manual.
Mm-hmm.
And it was mostly fine, except for this one little quirk that was like my normal car that I drive is a Toyota Prius. My muscle memory was getting in the way with me because to put the Prius in reverse is putting the little gear shifter knob in the exact same spot as first gear on this Fiat, which was in a normal first gear position for a manual.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just like always starting off the car and then thinking I'm in reverse, and then no, I'm in first. At the time I was like confused. Why do I keep doing this? And then I realized like, oh, it's probably because the way the setup is on my car at home. And then I got back and I realized, yep, that's exactly what it was. So it's just muscle memory.
But it was fun driving it. There weren't any unique sort of traffic laws that you had to be concerned with or differences there, or?
It's Mad Max. It's fantastic. Really? Well, no, it's not that bad. It was okay.
You get the rocket launchers. Did you get the machine guns on there? No.
You don't know about road rage. No, there was no road rage. It was fun. The biggest thing was like getting out of this garage, and then all of a sudden we're like in the middle of Florence, which is like a medieval city. So the roads are made for like they're not made for lots of cars to drive through them. So. They're like these tiny little streets that are, basically alleys, and just trying to get out of the town and onto the road. I felt like I was driving down a street in Disneyland.
Oh, yeah.
Full of all the people. I was like, we're driving in Disneyland now. So that was kind of hilarious.
So it wasn't big enough for two. It was just a one car and pedestrian sort of.
Yeah. Right.
Really?
Yeah. There was like one lane. Yeah, it was a one way. Yeah, it was lots of one-way
streets. Okay.
When you're in the city. And then, so then we got out and then we got onto their highway. And of course, there was a cool little toll booth, got to go through, take out a ticket, just like the New Jersey Turnpike is great.
Right.
And then get on there. And then like there's like the metric system comes into play because everything's like kilometers per hour. And I'm like, I don't really know what that really is. And then I go and I see like this road sign says 130. And I'm like, ooh, we could go 130. But like, it's interesting, like the way the speed limits worked on is Autostrada. That was the word, the Autostrada.
I was just about to say that, not to be confused with the Chips actor. Eric Estrada.
I noticed that other people were not driving 130. He was like, you drive as fast as you feel comfortable.
Uh-huh. Is that the way it works there?
At least where we were on this particular road, it was like not many people would go all the way up to the speed limit.
Uh-huh.
So it was like really easy to like pass it around slowpokes because it wasn't like everybody was jockeying to be first. Most people were like pretty cool with going this speed and like, oh, well, we can't. And then I was like, I did the mental math and I was like, I think 130 is like 80. And I was like, do I want to drive a Fiat at 80? And I don't know. So my comfort zone was like, I'm figuring it out. And I was like, okay, I can figure it out with these other slowpokes. Because there's also a lot of like really underpowered cars because they're all tiny. So
gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like a different culture of driving, but you can go that fast if you've got the horsepower and the will. And because not everybody is like crowding up the passing lane trying to be first in a race that nobody wins.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay. We're all getting there. So
the flow of traffic in the United States, typically everyone is going the speed limit or higher.
Yeah.
And then just having the passing lane stuff, like no one, they say it in the manual, in the DMV manuals, keep your slower traffic to the right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen.
But here's like another thing is like, I do believe the actual lanes themselves are narrower than in the United States. So you really have to be paying attention to what you're doing. You can't be drifting off. And, so it's necessarily more engaging to the driver. Like,
right.
Then, the toll plaza is fun. I got to throw in the funny European money into the thing and, it's great. Then you get off of that and then you get to go do the little roundabouts.
Oh, yeah, roundabouts. Definitely a mainstay of European traffic.
Yeah, little traffic circles. Now, I didn't do any of like the great big ones. Like those were all like, really pretty easy to get on and off.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of fun to be like, oh yeah, we're doing this, and you just go and you merge in and you merge out, and you just sort of take it as a matter of faith that everybody around you knows how to drive. You kind of yield at the beginning of the roundabout, but you're like, see, oh, here's my spot, and you go in, and then you get out, and then
right. It's very fluid.
It was very fluid, very civilized.
Yeah.
And then we got to like the little town where the villa was,
and
then you're going, and then it's a very narrow one-lane road, but there could be traffic both ways on it. So you're sort of like keeping your eyes out a little bit ahead for, is there another car coming? Should I be ready to pull off to the side before this little tunnel thing that I know is up here? And
yeah. So, there were tunnels?
there was one little bit that like, it was like a tiny tunnel. Like there was like an old roadway or something. I don't know what it was that went above. Because I feel like it was just past a railroad crossing. So I'm not sure what there was like a stone arch, a fang, and yeah, it was an underpass of something. Maybe it was an aqueduct. I don't know.
Definitely was not a chunnel.
It was not a channel, no, but it was like something that you don't want to be facing oncoming traffic in the middle of it. So
you had to make sure before you entered that it was all clear.
You made to make sure that, and it's like 20 meters at most. if we're going to be metric.
So you weren't frustrated by all this driving? It was good driving for you? It was, you know what I mean?
For me, it was fun. Yeah, I was surprised at how just fun I thought it was.
What about your passengers? Your passengers, did they think it was as fun as you thought it was?
I think my passengers were glad that I was enjoying it. Yeah, it was kind of fun. Oh, because also like the smartphones are pretty awesome. I could plug my my smartphone into that and do the maps thing, and it would come up on the display. So that really helped a lot.
Oh yeah.
So there was no fussing around with maps and stuff. But I was like really surprised at how much fun I had driving. I thought because you think about, oh, this is going to be terrifying, and then I go out and it's like, no, this is great.
Yeah.
Everybody who is driving knows that they got to be freaking paying attention. And then we sort of got rear-ended. So,
sort of.
Well, actually, it was on one of our days. We did a little day trip, and we were coming back, and coming out of the toll plaza, and then trying to merge onto the other road. The traffic was a little bit heavy. It was late afternoon. Might have hesitated too much, so I missed the spot to go join the flow. And then crunch, somebody behind us like bumped right into us, and I was like, well, what the hell? And then it was like this whole thing was like, well, where do we pull over? There's nowhere to pull over just yet. And then I was like looking for it. And then the other guy just like took off.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? We got the full insurance. Who cares?
Right.
When we got back, yeah, there wasn't any damage. It was just like, what?
That's kind of interesting too, how that kind of stuff works there with insurance. I don't know what the traffic rules are in Italy, and I don't know if you're required to have insurance there like you are in the United States, but it seems with the way that they drive.
I think you want to have the insurance.
Anywhere you travel, you definitely want insurance, period, in a sense. Let's just talk to the audience here. Make sure you get your insurance when you rent an automobile, because you never know. You just never
know. Yeah, so that was like the main thing. Like usually, like if I rent a car in the United States, I know my regular car insurance would cover the use of a rental.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to Italy, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna pay for the insurance with the car rental place. I will be happy about it.
Yeah.
I will not lose any sleep. And it turned out that we got that little bump on the rear end, and the guy took off, and I was like, what do we do? And then I was like, well,
there's nothing you can do, right?
We're gonna go back to the villa and see how bad it looks. And then we went and looked, and nothing looked bad. So just a little love tap.
Love? I mean, really?
A little love. A little aggressive.
Welcome to Italy. Was it another Fiat? Are they like the most popular car in Italy as far as what you saw on the road?
Well, there were a lot of them. I mean, it's an Italian car. I saw a lot of cool brands. There was like Dacia.
Uh-huh.
Saw some Opals.
Okay. And these are car makers, yeah?
These are car makers. I saw like some European makes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That you don't usually. Oh, Citroens. Saw some Citroens.
Aren't those big in the UK too?
Citroens?
Yeah. Fiat is.
Look it up. What's the abbreviation?
Do you want me to do it, or do you want to say it?
I'd have to look it up on my Google device. I can do that. I'm on my phone.
I've got it, because I also looked up the other part of the abbreviation, because the Fiat Automobiles SpA, uppercase S, lowercase p, uppercase A. Do you know what the SPA is?
Probably Italian for corporation.
It is Società per Azioni, which is company with shares, which is like a joint stock sort of company.
Yeah,
so it's a corporation.
That's what a corporation, yeah.
But Fiat itself is
Fabbrica Italiana Automobili di Torino.
Di Torino.
Italian Automobiles Factory of Turin. Yeah.
History traces back to 1899, when the first Fiat automobile, which is called the Fiat 4HP, was produced. And it has an interesting history, but I mean, I would say, that's one of those cars here. How much do you think a Fiat runs here in the United States? Just ballpark.
$30,000. I
Yep,
don't know.
That's about right. Yeah, that's about
Am I
right.
right? Okay.
Depending on which model you get. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah. I mean, and they are small. They're very, very small, but I'm comparing them to US cars. So
Yeah.
compared to other Italian cars, are they about just the same size?
Yeah, they're a very common size. I mean, like if you see, like you just like see what the roads are like
Mhm.
and what the parking situations are like and what you have to navigate. It's like, oh, you need a small car.
Right.
In fact, there are some parts of towns where they're like, you cannot drive here unless you have a special permit. But also, it's like the inner cities of some of the older towns where there's lots of things that tourists want to see. Yeah, so in Florence, I saw some very tiny garbage trucks. They were like, they were, calling it a truck is a stretch, but it was like, they were just like the Japanese trucks, that people like to import. They were like even smaller than those.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, it was just like his little tiny vehicles, like just going through and like picking up some trash cans worth of stuff and getting out of there. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like an all-day job picking up the tourist trash in
Every time I see a Fiat here, I think of Renault Car.
Oh no.
Remember those?
Car. Yeah.
Or as I like to call them, a fancy Yugo.
Fancy Yugo.
The Yugos,
fancy
like
Yugos.
Yeah.
Yugos. That didn't last long.
No,
Yeah.
Yugos? Last about as long, yeah, no, that probably lasted about as long as the Yugo lasted, like physically.
Yeah. Physically,
Yeah, made of corrugated cardboard. There was a Saturday Night Live episode where they did
the Adobe car.
the Adobe. Yep, where everyone gets out of the
Japanese engineering and Mexican know-how.
Yep, exactly.
Adobe.
Everyone is like going to the tennis club and they get out in their whites and you see the big red stains on the back of their yeah. But you had fun with the Lucars, not the Lucars, sorry, the Fiats.
The Fiats. Yeah, the Fiat was fun.
You said that you drove the Fiat there, right?
Yeah.
It was an actual working vineyard?
Yeah.
Was it a fancy one or was it like more old school? Like did they have like big grape presses, like large grape presses and stuff? Like industrial sized, or was it more of just a family orchard?
I think it was a family run thing. It wasn't very. I didn't see too much of like the winemaking equipment. That wasn't where we were, but I know that the family made wine and they had bottles of it available.
Right.
So
people walking around with purple feet.
Purple feet. I didn't see that, but
no. Do you usually drink wine?
I'll drink wine when I'll drink it when I'm with my in-laws.
Okay.
Because they like wine.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, I'm not sophisticated in my wine knowledge, but
you're not one of those guys. If you want to ever sound like you're knowledgeable, you got to do that thing from the movie Jaws, where he goes, "You gotta let that breathe for a little." Until Roy Scheider just pours it in there. He's like, "You gotta let that breathe." Never mind.
I'm more of like Quint.
Oh, you're more like Quint?
Crush it like Quint. The Narragansett. Yeah. No, I don't know. And there's something I got to talk about Italy that happened that was totally unexpected.
Oh, okay.
So this was the same day that we got rear-ended, but it was earlier in the day.
Okay.
We, like the whole family, like, I don't know, I think there were like 12 of us. We all were like, let's all go to this one town. And I do not recommend trying to like organize 12 family members on a ad hoc trip to an Italian town.
Okay.
That's just too much. We should have broken into smaller groups, but I mean, it was fine. We did break up into smaller groups because
it's in a natural order of things. It's the way it works out anyway, right? It's going to happen that way.
The natural order of things. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
First hilarious part was me not knowing how parking spots were marked because I'm a dumb foreigner. But, we go into this town, Lucca, which was not too far, maybe 45 minutes from where we were staying in the Italian countryside.
Lived upstairs from you?
We lived upstairs from Luca. No, we lived downstairs from, yeah, Luca lived upstairs from us.
Yeah. I think you've seen him before.
I think, yeah, we see, yep. Anyway, this is a cool town.
Lucca is a cool town. Okay, so what's
Lucca? It was cool. I mean, first like driving there, then I had to figure out where to park, but then we figured out. But the old part of the town is like an old, basically a star fort, which I don't know if you know what that is.
No,
but it's like a walled city, and so all the walls, like they come out. The corners are points, and there's like more corners to it, so that there's more ways that you can defend invading armies. Because I was talking about how Italy used to be a bunch of like different city states,
right?
Yeah, they were always going to war with each other all the time,
right?
So this particular city state had a pretty good defensive fortification around it. And so I don't know if I really described it well as a star fort, but if anybody who's interested could Google that and see exactly what I was talking about. So you got to go through a gate to get into the old part of the city, and it was pretty neat. And we go in, and like I didn't done any research ahead of time. I just know, oh, this is the town that we can go to, and then I was like, oh well, this looks cool. Pretty quickly we come across like the main plaza, and they're like building a stage, a temporary stage in there, and setting up for like a festival thing. And we see, oh, it's the Plaza de Napoleone, a piazza, like Napoleon Plaza. And we're like, Napoleon, I thought he was French. Further research led to me to know that Napoleon set up his sister as a princess of the region, and she had her little headquarters in this town or whatever. And so she built a plaza, dedicated it to her brother. So, it's all legit. They changed the name for a while, but then they changed it back. But anyway, the thing is, they're setting up this thing, and we see some guys with the fluorescent vests, doing their fluorescent vest stuff. And then you look at it, and then one of the fluorescent vests says "Kiss."
Okay.
And you're like, what? And then we find like a sign for the schedule. So it's going to be like a weekly music festival. So every week there's a different band playing, and this is the first one. And yep, the headliner is Kiss.
Like actually Kiss.
Exactly. And then like we go like 30, I was going to say 30 feet. We'll say 10 more meters down along the way, and see like there's some tables sitting down. There's some people are like slyly getting out their cell phones to take a picture. And then we look over and like, oh, that's Paul Stanley having an espresso. Like, what?
With or without makeup?
Without makeup, no makeup. Okay. I was like, that's a Kiss guy. I need to Google this. And I was like, which Kiss guy? It's Paul Stanley. Okay. At first I was like, that's cool. And then I was like, we're just going to keep moving. And so that was like this kind of thing. Like, so they were going to play there that night. This was probably like 11:30 in the morning. So things were still getting set up. But as we're like going through this cool town, looking at all these different stuff, oh my gosh, there was this one square devoted to some classical composer, and I can't remember which one it was, but
So it was a musical centric sort of town. I mean, was that a big part of the?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're like, it's one of their big draws is this summer music festival, and I mean, but also, yeah, like. There's some history, some historical figures have lived there. Like, I'd never heard of Lucca before, but now I'm like, oh, this is actually, I wish we'd spend more time there and been a little more organized about it, because there's a lot of cool stuff to see. But as the day progressed, there was like more and more guys showed up wearing Kiss t-shirts and people in the Kiss makeup. And it was like surreal. Like, oh, we're in a cool medieval Italian fort town, and here's the Kiss Army. It's the Italian division of the Kiss Army.
That would be very surreal, especially if you hadn't have seen Paul Stanley. That would have been even more surreal. It's like, what?
But luckily we were a very observant crew. my wife's family and us. We were picked up on some stuff, and then we are like, okay, cool. And then, as the Kiss Army commenced with their invasion, we realized it was time to go home.
Yeah.
Just in time to get rear-ended in a Fiat.
Right. That's cool. If you would have stayed for the, well, I mean, who knows what would have happened had you stayed for the concert?
I looked up what the ticket cost was, and I was like, I don't know.
It's too much.
And also we only paid for a couple hours of parking.
So I just looked this up. It's a bastion fort.
Yeah, a bastion fort. I would call it a bastion.
A style that evolved during the early modern period of gunpowder when the cannon came to dominate the battlefield.
Oh, yeah.
First seen mid-15th century Italy. Allegedly, Michelangelo had something to do with the design.
Yeah, that was another interesting thing about, I was telling you about the farmhouse that we lived in.
Uh-huh.
We stayed in.
Right.
Of the different aspects to this place is like, the doors had all kinds of like iron bars to like reinforce and brace. Like on the first floor, you could totally set yourself up to withstand a raid, I guess. I don't know. It was interesting.
Pretty robust supports and things.
Robust security system, yeah.
Yeah.
Like using iron and physics and heavy stuff to keep banditos out. Or
right.
No, not banditos. In Italy, they're banditi.
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 Ah, okay.
Banditi. Yeah, that's how they do the plural. And now this is like family lore, because the reason my in-laws chose this place is one of their long friends since college was actually born in that house. And so he has there's the family lore that during World War II, when the Germans were like retreating from Italy, there was some German soldiers that, they were just sort of going anywhere looking for whatever food or supplies they could get because they were losing. So there was like actually a little chapel. There's still a chapel that's part of the house, like a family chapel with its own exterior door.
Mm-hmm.
So before the Germans got there, they went and hid all the extra food and like whatever guns they had, which is probably, a hunting rifle or something really. But they're like hid all that stuff underneath the altar in the chapel so that when the Germans came here and insisted to like, search for whatever they could get,
mm-hmm.
they couldn't find anything because they didn't look under where Jesus was hiding it. So,
right.
Which that was another neat thing. Like this house had a little chapel in it because it was far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if the priest came over, he could come over and there was a spot to have
Jesus-y stuff.
do the Jesus stuff. And like the other thing is like the interesting part of the villa, the room that we stayed in was on the ground floor, which was chosen because Catherine's pregnant and she was like, you know what? I don't want to go all the way up the stairs. And I was like, good. I don't want to carry the luggage up the stairs. So we stayed on the ground floor. But that room we were looking at, we were like, oh, it had a cool vaulted ceiling.
Uh-huh.
And then I realized that, it was the same ceiling that was in the chapel because it's on the same side of the house. And I realized like, I bet historically this wasn't a bedroom. It was part of the family chapel. So we were protected by the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Okay.
Although there were pictures of the Blessed Virgin Mary probably in every bedroom. But that was great. I never was so religious until that trip. And now I'm like, Jesus is pretty cool sometimes. I think.
Not just the stuff of wars.
None of the stuff. I mean, there was a bit about, the war stuff.
History in general is it's, of course it's going to involve religion. So it doesn't really matter what you believe. It's going to come into play and it's interesting.
It's going to come into play.
What. Yeah.
It's interesting. It was very interesting. Here was the other awesome part about the villa, which I really have to talk about because it's not still in the family is another, somebody else bought it, but there's still like a connection going on. So one of the nights that we were there, we had them cater a dinner for us.
Oh, okay.
The people that owned the house.
Right.
And so basically, earlier in the day, I want to say like 3 or 4 Italian grandmas come and start cooking. And then when it's dinner time, we we have food made by actual Italian grandmas.
Right.
That is like the best Italian food ever had.
Yeah.
They come out and like uh, there's an antipasti course full of all the, the cured meats and
Right.
the
Right.
stuff and like what you want. And then the main course was lasagna. Lasagna. So come out and she specifically said, this is lasagna, not lasagna, lasagna. And you go, and it was
lasagna?
It was lasagna. It was better than any American lasagna you've ever had. Like it was, the noodles were like, they must have been made by Italian grandmas.
Yeah.
They were so fresh and good, and like everything. Yeah, and they insisted I take a double portion, and I could not refuse.
Right. Right.
It was really good.
You don't want to be disrespectful.
Don't want to be disrespectful, no.
They weren't trying to fatten you up or anything, were they?
When an Italian nonna says you need to have some more lasagna,
Yeah.
you're like, you're right, I do.
I do. Yes. What kind of meat was in there? Was it like veal or was it like what was the, do you know what the meat was, or did they use meat or?
There was meat in there. I don't remember. It was just really good.
Yeah.
It was just like the quality of the ingredients. I got kind of spoiled in Italy. It was hard for me to eat after coming back for a little while. I was like,
where's my lasagna?
And also there's like some of the basic things about how like they use different strains of wheat in Europe.
Right.
Which what I've heard, and do I know this for a fact, but it seems like the people that have like gluten reactions in America, which are really popular,
right?
The strains of wheat that are more used in Europe are less likely to provoke that kind of reaction,
okay.
which is like interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
America, we're like, we need to get the most calorie per square inch of farmland, so they go for a certain strain of wheat, whereas in Europe they're like, but this one's better for the pasta, and then it's like I don't know, priorities.
Oh, definitely. So that was like the best meal that you had, was that?
Yeah, that was the best one. Like, well, also went to different Italian restaurants.
Oh yeah, of course.
Got pasta and pizza, of course. But that was probably like just an experience. It was great.
Is there any interest in going back to Italy then?
Yeah, I would go back next week if I could, Well,
no, but I mean, like in the future, like maybe
in the future, yeah, definitely. Like, it was a nice, eye-opening excursion, and you're like, oh yeah, if we came back again, we could do this thing or that thing, and spend more time in this area, or
right.
Hey, maybe we could go see Venice next time. It was a very it's a very cool trip, and we were gentle with ourselves as far as scheduling our days because yes,
that's the
Catherine's pregnant.
Yeah, there's that, but then also, I mean, I just think it's the only way to do it.
That's true.
Don't schedule everything. Just kind of maybe one or two things that you want to do, schedule those, but then kind of go with the flow for the rest of them. Is always been.
And also, there's like this general like Southern European thing where like at a certain point in the afternoon, you go take a nap.
Yeah.
You go and rest. And like if you're paying attention to your own body energy and like, oh yeah, it's getting warm, I do want to go lie down for a bit. It's fine. And you get a better experience, I think. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just pro nap, but it's good.
Yeah. Very cool.
And like it was we'll say we did do a couple of high points. We went to the Coliseum because Catherine really wanted to go to the Coliseum. And yes, you pick a thing you really want to do and you make sure you do that. And then everything else is a bonus.
Right. Right.
And I really wanted to go to see David in Florence.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important to really pick those things. And I didn't realize this ahead of time because there is like it's kind of a pain to get tickets to see some of these things.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's basically because there's like a whole aftermarket, it's kind of like the concert tickets.
Ticketmaster?
Ticketmaster, like that whole thing where it's like you have to buy your tickets ahead of time and you can't get the tickets from the venue ahead of time. You have to get them through a tour broker. And then, of course, they add on their fees, or you have to go to some weird place at the right time to pick up the tickets from the whoever. And it's like, and then everything, like you order something ahead of time and everything comes with a QR code on it. You go up to the person, you show them the QR code, and they're like, no, show me the rest of the email.
The QR code.
You put a QR code on here just to pretend?
Look fancy.
Yeah, you did that to make me feel like you were an actual established thing. But no, you're just somebody with a white umbrella outside of the Academia Gallery. Okay.
No, that just goes to a random Google website. Don't worry about that. That doesn't mean anything.
Don't worry about that. Like, I doesn't confirm anything, but I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Just all right. But we got in. We got to go see that. We got to go see David, and I took pictures of him from several angles.
From several angels?
Several angels. Yes, angels and angles. Yeah, because it was very important to me to make sure I could never be hired in Florida. I don't know. There's something about Florida. It doesn't like our history.
Yeah.
But, here's another thing that I realized. All those Italian sculptures, like there's always like nudity going on.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Italy in the summertime, it's like, yeah, it's hot. I want to take off some layers. I don't think it's about sexuality at all. I think it's just warm out there. So people just take off their clothes.
Oh.
Especially when they're statues. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Because I was wondering, theory. It's like, how many shirtless, topless people did you see out there? But
I didn't see any, actually, just in the statues.
Just the statues, yeah. Okay.
Actually, the thing is, like, if you want to go into a church, here's another one of the street salespeople, there's guys out there selling, like, shawls, because at the cathedral somewhere, you can go in for free, but you can't go in if you have bare shoulders. So there's a guy selling shawls right outside.
It's a shawl stall?
A shawl stall. Yeah, no, it's just the street. He's just standing there. He's like, yeah, so like I forgot which cathedral that was. This was in Florence, but there was, somebody just checking people as they go in and be like, okay, that's you can't go in with the bare shoulders, and then they'll be like, hey, €5.
Too racy.
But I was prepared.
I was prepared with shirts.
I was wearing a shirt. Actually, I think, according to our pre-trip research, that for gentlemen, shorts would not be acceptable for going in there. But I didn't see anybody barred for lack of long pants.
Yeah, it's a little known fact that in Italy, knees are known as leg shoulders.
Leg shoulders. Yeah. Yes.
Any kind of joint, they're very anti-joint in the.
I don't know. I think maybe the Australians must have worn them down as far as the shorts thing go, because I didn't see any gentlemen stopped from going in. But
without the shorts, or with the shorts.
Without the shorts, with shorts. I wasn't actually worried that much about it. I was just sort of watching the shawl seller.
Yeah, the shawl stall.
Like, yeah, the shawls. Yeah, that was like, that's a neat thing. Now, if you wanted to go all the way up in the bell tower, that cost money.
Okay.
That was a thing.
Yeah.
At least at that cathedral, whatever it was. But it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like you had a wonderful time.
It was a great time. Yeah. I'd go back again.
Yeah. It was much better than Cats.
It was much better than Cats. I'll see it again and again.
Okay.
The amazing. Yeah.
The second SNL sketch mentioned here. So tell me about the Pringles.
The Pringles, man.
Because you did some sort of post